And then we're going to go through a few of the new features that have been introduced in the latest, which is 4.21, which was out just a few weeks ago, and a couple of the highlights from the last couple of releases as well. Who am I? There should be two things obvious from this photo. Firstly, I work for ShapeBlue. Secondly, I live in England. I've been involved with CloudStack for about 12, 13 years now. Been involved with the open source community. I've been involved in these meetups and the conferences since then. Big fan of open source, big fan of CloudStack. I'm not super technical. I'm going to call that out right now, okay? So during this talk, I am going to speak intelligently about features and releases. If you've got any questions, I will try to answer them, but I will defer to my colleagues, you people in the room, to help me out on the more technical questions. And that's who I am. So this group it's not an official sort of sanctioned thing. It's something that we try and do 3 times a year, 4 times a year if we can, and it's just to get people together, users, developers, people with interest in CloudStack, customers, just to talk about all things CloudStack. We've been going about 12 years now. We try to do 3 a year. We generally try to avoid straight up vendors coming in and just doing pitching their technology. Generally speaking, we want to hear about how vendors work with CloudStack, what interesting things around about CloudStack. Our last meetup was in Vienna back in May. Fantastic event, really good. And as you can see there, it's all different types of talks and types of presentations you're going to see today, hopefully. I've had a look at the agenda. Obviously, it's a really interesting agenda. How does it fit in to the sort of the overall central thing around about CloudStack? So obviously you've got at the centre of it all, you've got the Apache Software Foundation. CloudStack is a top-level project governed by the Apache Software Foundation, and in the middle of it really you've got the development community of CloudStack. Around the edge, you've got little user groups that go on. I suppose the European one is it's been going the longest, I think, and it's, I think, the most regularly organised one. There's one in India now, the India user group, which is going really, really well. A really, really vibrant group. And there's been, over the years, there's been some around the US, some in South America. And then also over here, which I am going to mention to you later as well, the CloudStack Collaboration Conference. That's really the main event for CloudStack users, CloudStack developers, customers, etc. around the world. This year that's going to be in Milan, and it's in November of this year. Tickets still available, and the request for talks, presentations is still open. I think I'm right in saying so.
On Saturday. The CFP is closing on Saturday.
Closing on Saturday. Thank you, Yvette. We'll come back to that a little bit later. That's that's once a year. It's been in some fantastic places around the world. It's getting bigger and bigger. I think last year was Madrid, one of the biggest and best we've seen. Really fantastic. If you are interested or using CloudStack, that's the event to be at. If you're only going to one event this year, go to that one. Without sponsors, these events couldn't take place. Well, they could take place, but it would mean one person has got to spend all the money. Sponsors this year are my company, ShapeBlue, and StorePool here as well. Without sponsors, like I say, there wouldn't be lunch, there wouldn't be a room, there wouldn't be tea and coffee, etc., etc. So please, just a little round of applause to StorePool and ShapeBlue. Thank you very much. And please, at the back of the room, I've had to lug up to London a suitcase full of socks and chargers and leaflets. Take them all. Take them all home. Okay, as I said, I mentioned to you earlier, really, really great agenda today, a really packed agenda. I'm going to get off the stage as quickly as I possibly can. We're straight into Mike Kinsey Object Way with a fascinating sounding talk about apiculture, aquaponics and advanced networking. Then we've got the StorePool guys talking about building a tier 1 infrastructure. Pete Logan from Ampere talking about savings. I think you mentioned TCO and what have you of that. Lunch break, please do a lunch break. Where is lunch? Outside or in here? Here. Be served in here, great. Please take the opportunity to introduce yourself, talk to your fellow users and developers and what have you. Then after lunch, got Guido, got latency. Lucian's talking about the CloudStack extensions framework, the orchestrate anything, which is something I'm personally very excited about. Just recently come out in 4.21. No spoilers from me on that one, Lucian. Is there a live demo on that, by the way?
Yes.
A live demo.
I have a recorded demo. Just
Very, very wise, very wise, very wise. And then right at the end there, Yvette is going to be doing an open forum, basically a Q&A, get some conversation going, just see what people think about a variety of topics to be defined. And I think, is it during that people can use their drinks tokens, Yvette, did you say? Yeah, absolutely, okay. If you haven't got drinks tokens, there's some drinks tokens back there. There's a bar somewhere in the building. You've got a couple of things, please feel free to go and get a drink and then come and join in that session there. Please don't go and stay in the bar. Please do come back with a drink, all right? And I've been asked to point out to you that the drinks tokens aren't valid in any bar in London. They're valid in here. Speaking of drinks, sorry, this big section on drinking here. Later on, after the event, when we finish at 5 o'clock, there's nothing official, there's no sponsored drinks or sponsored dinner. I will be going to this bar here with a couple of my colleagues and friends, and you are all welcome to join us to carry on the conversation, have a drink, etc. Like I say, nothing sponsored, nothing official. Lemon Street Tavern, it's about a 2-minute walk from here, okay? So you are welcome to join us for a drink afterwards if you so desire. Okay, so I mentioned earlier I'm going to do a CloudStack 101, a really high-level introduction to CloudStack, really whip through the headline features, what CloudStack is. Very quick show of hands. Is anyone in the room, who in this room uses CloudStack? Okay, very good. Who in this room works with CloudStack on a daily basis? Great. And who in this room is new to CloudStack entirely? Great, fantastic. So this is a very, very high-level 101. I apologise again in advance to the experts in the room, and I have run through it twice with my colleagues, and apparently it's all factually correct, okay? So from the top, at the high level, CloudStack is a scalable, multi-tenant, open-source, purpose-built cloud orchestration platform for delivering turnkey infrastructure as a service. A couple of sort of key words in there. Scalable, it's absolutely scalable. Historically, the biggest cloud that we know of, the community knows of, was the 35,000 physical hosts around the world. That was Zynga. And we certainly know right now of people using CloudStack at scale in the thousands, 5,000, 10,000, 20,000 physical hosts being managed by CloudStack. Multi-tenant is absolutely key, obviously, and open source, truly open source. There's no single vendor that's got any controlling interest in CloudStack. There's no single vendor pouring money into it, taking it a certain direction. It is 100% open source, run by the community for the community. When CloudStack was first developed, the idea was first sort of spawned, if you like, it was based loosely upon the Amazon EC2 stack. So this was how the Amazon was built back in the day. And what CloudStack tried to do was give people the opportunity to offer similar services with their own equipment, their own data center. So put very simply, no difference at the bottom there. You've got your networking, compute, and storage. Amazon use their own hypervisor. CloudStack is hypervisor agnostic. It's got strong support for KVM, VMware, Zen. It does have support for other hypervisors as well. They haven't been developed with as much love over the years because they're not as popular. But again, Lucian will mention later the orchestrate anything as a service, where actually you can now orchestrate any hypervisor from within CloudStack. Obviously, Amazon EC2 had their own orchestration layer. That's where Apache CloudStack sits. Apache CloudStack is a cloud management platform, sits there orchestrating everything below it. It's got its own very rich API. And then obviously on the top, everyone's familiar with the Amazon e-commerce platform. Above CloudStack, you've got the UI, which is fantastic, which you can expose to end users, and they can self-manage, self-service their own tenanted tenancy. And also you've got around the edge a bunch of third-party e-commerce platforms as well for CloudStack. Stack Console, Host Bill, etc. There's lots of off-the-shelf solutions you can buy if you want to provide with CloudStack that very similar to Amazon, that type your credit card in, start up your instances and machines, and off you go and get billed automatically. However, CloudStack, as I say, also has a very rich usage server, and lots of people simply export their data straight out of that into their own billing platform and do billing that way. Then around the edge over the years, other things have been developed around CloudStack, as it has with obviously EC2, and it's sort of grown bigger. Things like automation tools there, I mentioned Kubernetes servers, obviously. But essentially what CloudStack does underneath all this, it's also a particularly powerful automation tool. You can use CloudStack to automate your cloud workloads, your cloud infrastructure, and what have you. I'm not going to be the person that reads every single word off of his slides. These are the key CloudStack features there. I mentioned broad hypervisor support, scalable high availability. It's got built-in high availability at the host and VM level. And we mentioned scalability, as I say. Right now, you'll see a slide in a minute of known users out there. And we absolutely know that some of those are up to 19,000, 20,000 physical hosts, possibly more. And the choice of interfaces, web UI, the command line. There's just been a new release of the CloudMonkey CLI as well, 6.5 I believe, just come out now. So lots of ways to interact and interface there. Again, just up at the top there, some key features. I want to talk about a little bit of networking, because we are going to talk a little bit in my slides. In new features, we're going to talk about the new integration with SDN solutions that are out there now. But I wanted to also point out before we get there, CloudStack's got great built-in networking already. Okay, it already delivers everything that you might need from an SDN solution. People integrate other ones, NSX, for example. Netris will talk a little bit about as we go through here. But that's people always need certain things, something extra, a certain specific thing for their customers. But CloudStack's already got very good networking already built in. And you can use, just to while you look at this slide here, you can use both basic and networking in the same cloud per zone if you need to. Again, just a very quick slide there showing the difference between the basic and advanced networking. And again, everything you'd expect to see from a networking solution, CloudStack's got it built in out of the box. And with CloudStack, by the way, if you are new to CloudStack, these aren't all modules you've got to install or different solutions or different, you've got to install this bit, then this bit, then this bit. Everything we're talking about today is part of the single installation of CloudStack. All right. So let's say just a couple of slides about the native networking capability before we talk later about, there's more, before we talk more about the more advanced solutions that are perhaps integrating with CloudStack in the latest versions of CloudStack. Now, why would you use CloudStack? So I suppose why would you use CloudStack over another solution? Why would you use CloudStack full stop? It's now at version 4.21. It's a stable, robust, tested, battle-scarred solution. It's right now, one of the phrases that the community uses is CloudStack's kind of boring now. It just sort of sits where it sits in your stack and just works. It just does what it's supposed to do, leaving you free to work on making money, giving your customers the right experience, etc., etc., etc. We found over the years, and one of the reasons that the community likes CloudStack, one of the reasons I certainly enjoy working with CloudStack is that rapid time to value. There are other solutions out there whereby you are talking weeks, maybe months, to get from where you are right now to a fully deployed supported solution and able to spin up workloads and make some and start going to market with a solution. CloudStack, if you've got your hardware in place, network in place, you can get this up and running within a couple of weeks very easily. I say very easily if you've got the skill, the experience and the skills to do so. And again, low implementation and operation costs. We've found this certainly. My company, we've done some studies and also with the community, we've worked on some studies, some comparisons, and we're pretty confident in saying that to get CloudStack into production and then supported moving forwards can be significantly cheaper than other options that might be out there. Certainly considerably cheaper than one particular solution that I'm trying not to mention today. Use cases, pretty obvious really. There's basically where it fits, what it does. We see, working with the community, we see about a 50-50 split amongst private and public cloud there, but it can be either or, obviously hybrid. You can deploy edge zones within CloudStack as well, core zone and edge zones. And also what recently we're seeing it as in the last 18-24 months, we're seeing people coming on board and trying to use it, wanting to use it as a virtualization management platform, not necessarily a cloud management platform or what have you, just to manage an existing virtualized infrastructure. And that's a relatively new use case that we're seeing for CloudStack. There's some known CloudStack users that have been around for quite some time now. And again, I mentioned this earlier. Some of these people are using CloudStack in the tens of thousands of physical hypervisor hosts with no problems, with no concerns about scalability. CloudStack's just, as I say, quite boring, sitting there doing its job very nicely. Quite recently, again, we've seen a lot more customers, a lot more users have wanted to get involved with CloudStack. There's a few more there that have come on board that we've been speaking with, that have started to be involved in the community in the last sort of 12, 24 months. And there's some really big names there. And we know as well, what we've heard of in discussions, a few of these companies were at the last event. Some were in Vienna, some were in Madrid last year. We're going to see them again in Milan this year. A lot of these companies, these new ones that I've put there, they are aggressively moving away from their existing hypervisor or virtualization solution. In particular, AT&T, you might have read in the news, are currently suing their ex-partner. As are Tesco, by the way. We just found out about that. Yeah. So, yeah, very interesting. And this is the slide that we always put up, these sort of the mystery person down here. I mentioned to you earlier, other solutions historically have had lots of money behind them when it comes to marketing, go-to-market awareness, and what have you. CloudStack's never had that. CloudStack's never been controlled, guided even by any single big vendor. So there's never been any major vendor. I suppose you can go back and talk about the Citrix situation years ago, but that was a different thing, and they're not involved anymore, obviously. But the open source solution that we're talking about has no single vendor controlling it, pouring around, or trying to. Most of the people that we work with in the community that use CloudStack, they don't want to take control. They don't want to see anyone else take control. They want it to be purely open source, driven by them, by the community, for the good of the community, because everyone benefits from that. But down here, like I say, we also know that there are tons more people out there using CloudStack at scale, but not everyone wants to disclose what they're using about CloudStack. And we always encourage, if you're in the room now and you've got a massive CloudStack cloud with thousands of hosts, please tell us about it. Please let us get your name on this slide if it isn't there already.
Why is it always interesting that the cloud needs to be big? Because I found this interesting that I had a conversation recently with somebody who started using CloudStack, and he had a smaller deployment, and it just worked great for him.
Right.
It's cool that we have these large numbers, but I think we also want to have a lot of people who are just using CloudStack for their deployment. If it's 10 hosts,
absolutely.
It's fine.
Absolutely.
It's just a remark.
That's a really good point. It's a really good point. I suppose I was hitting that point because of the scalability part of the slide there for the new guys. But you're absolutely right. There are people out there with less than 10 hosts, a handful of hosts, and CloudStack. You're absolutely right with it. CloudStack, the total cost of ownership, the deployment speed, etc., absolutely still works for these guys that have got a handful of hosts. Absolutely right. Thank you. Okay, so and in there there's all sorts: financial, medical service providers, educational, national telecoms companies are in there. Some big names, some big players that are absolutely happy with CloudStack because it just works. I've talked about the community. I'm going to continue to talk about the community a lot. I'm a huge fan of the community. I love the fact that when we go away to these events, when we talk in the mailing list, when I see people working on it, it's everyone's passionate, everyone's interested. User-driven is absolutely the key phrase there. I won't do it again about vendor support in there. It is user-driven. It is absolutely controlled, guided, driven by the actual users of it, and it's a fantastic community. I've got a few slides coming up now, which I'm going to go through relatively quickly. They're quite old slides. They haven't been updated. I'm going to show you some metrics on the scale of CloudStack, because people sometimes want to understand how healthy the community is. Is it, much as OpenStack wanted you to believe some years ago, is it just a bedroom hobby project, or is it an active, vibrant community that's got longevity? And it absolutely has. So that's what people would like to ask. Now, I'm going to warn you first off, these slides that I'm going to show you run up to the end of 2024. And I honestly wish I had a better reason for that than simply saying I ran out of time and couldn't be bothered to do the slides for the last 9 months or whatever, okay? But they still, I think, show you the picture. They illustrate what the point I'm trying to make here. So there's nothing unusual here. This is, if you can't read that, it's commits to the CloudStack repo by month for 2 years, Jan 22 through 3 years, through October 24. And what that's illustrating is basically it's a healthy, stable, nothing crazy here, no great, oh my gosh, wow. It's just trying to illustrate that it's a healthy, stable release that isn't showing. I mean, if you were to draw the scale line in there, it would be roughly even, I would suspect. Obviously, there are a couple of spikes, but generally speaking, it's where you'd expect it to be. Quite an interesting slide. This is an old slide. It illustrates the change We all know what happened late 23 in the industry. So you can compare downloads of the packages, unique visitors and stars on GitHub in 2023 to 2024, and the spike in interest was enormous, was absolutely huge. Really, really great for CloudStack. Hopefully really great for people that are looking for that alternative as well. Next, again, go into a little more detail on those downloads, management server downloads per month. And again, I'm not going to keep hitting this point. Something happened around there, and then the downloads of people downloading the CloudStack packages, installing it, trying it out, looking for something else. We saw that, the community saw that rise in use. And again, same on the mailing lists. If you're not familiar with CloudStack, I suppose the main forum that people use to communicate, to talk in CloudStack, to chat, to ask questions of other users, to ask for support, guidance, the main thing that's used are the mailing lists. If you're not on the mailing list and you've got any interest, please do join them. Just even if you just want to sort of observe, they're a fantastic resource to use. And again, we saw the messaging, the interaction, the vibrancy. We've always seen fantastic engagement in CloudStack, but again, there was a big spike a couple years ago. And there's that red arrow. Okay, that's a very basic intro to CloudStack. Is there any questions on that very basic high-level idea of what CloudStack is? Fantastic, thank you. Okay, I'm going to move on to some new features in a moment, but again, this slide here just to illustrate again the support that CloudStack gets in the community. The community support and maintenance of these releases. So it's not a fire and forget product. So going back to 4.19, which was Feb 24, that subsequently had what you can see for yourselves there, 3.2.3 security releases, maintenance releases, 4.19 up to 4.19.3. 4.20 was released then later that year. That itself had a couple of, I think there's one maintenance and security release in there. And as I mentioned, 4.21 was released just a couple of weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, whatever it was. 4.22 is slated for later this year. 4.21 is not an LTS release, 4.22 is going to be an LTS, really, long-term support from the community. And the feedback from the community on that has been that with regards to that move, so the community was doing 2 LTS releases per year. The feedback that we've got from users from the community is that people would like more time to focus on stabilizing, addressing security fixes, getting bug fixes in, than new features all the time. So that's been a very recent move within the community. Okay. So that's the 101 finished with. I'm going to go through some feature highlights of the last couple of releases. With 4.19, these were the couple of headlines that I sort of pulled out of the most recent slides. I'm not going to go into massive detail on these, but the headlines basically are obviously the VM to KVM migration. That was a real sort of key bit of work that the community invested in for obvious reasons. Okay, people were looking for that alternative, and obviously they were looking for how easy it is to move from VMware, for example, to CloudStack and with KVM. And the community did some great work around that migration tool, and since then, work's continued on making it slicker, quicker, more easy to use, etc., etc., etc. Oops. VNF appliance support, so virtual network. VNF appliance support now, you can deploy these virtual network functions as virtual appliances. Again, not new, but something that we thought was worth mentioning. Usage recorded for billing, and it supports API and UI setup and deployment from within the UI on that one. And object storage, again, not a huge headline a couple years on, but just to give you an idea about what's happening in these last few releases. Apache CloudStack 4.20, a couple of quite key ones in there. ARM64 support and multi-architecture zones. So you're going to have a zone which involves both types of architecture, both ARM64 and x86. We've got Pete in the room. Pete's giving a talk later. Pete's from Ampere, going to be giving a talk on that. Hi, Pete, thank you. Again, VMware NSX support was an interesting one. It quite quickly became quite niche. Not many people out there are using, well, that the community works with, using VMware at scale that are using that. But again, that was a great integration, full integration from within the UI for NSX support, and dynamic and static routing. Again, it's not a particularly exciting headline, but that came in with a new networking type introduced that meant you could do dynamic and static routing. Now, That was 420. I think I'm going to go into a little more detail on each one. Like I say, I'm not going to go into every word here, but I've mentioned a couple of things, these things already. A great step forward. Lots of people interested in power usage, etc., cost per electrical unit, whatever it is. Lots of people thinking about along those lines. So again, the community was able to react, work with Ampere, work with these companies, and get that in. Again, just a couple of slides here showing you from within the UI how you would set up your architectures there. Shared file systems, again, very much like AFS in Amazon there. You can now create that file share for consumption in other instances. And as you can see, we're orchestrating there from under the underlying instance. So think that elastic file system, very similar to that AFS. There you go, just a few headlines on that shared file system. If you have questions about it, please feel free to put your hand up and ask them. We have plenty of smart people in the room that can talk in more detail on this. But as I say, I'm trying to just present to you a very quick run through of the new stuff that's come and is coming, or has come, sorry, in the last couple of weeks. And I mentioned that VMware NSX support. So that new plugin, or similar, so it's Tungsten for NSX4, full integration. You can now deploy and work with NSX at the zone level and have everything that NSX offers to you, such as VPCs, Kubernetes, a list of more advanced, perhaps, networking solutions and networking architectures that you might want to use. As I say, things like NSX and Netris that I'll speak about a little later, they're great, fantastic, but they really are, as I say, remember CloudStack does have already very good networking in place. Things like this are for people that have got different use cases, perhaps more advanced use cases. Dynamic and static routing, again, I'm not going to explain what dynamic routing and static routing is, but it's basically just a new alternative. You can now go a new network mode, routed instead of the default natted, and it essentially offers dynamic and static routing. Static routing is, again, I'm sure we know what static routing is. It's not particularly exciting, it was just interesting when it first came out. And dynamic routing, again, we all know what dynamic routing is. There's some detail on that. So like I say, it's a new networking mode that, as opposed to just the default natted, you've now got the routed mode, which you want to use it. Now, CloudStack 4.21, as I say, was released on the 28th of August, so just two or 3 weeks ago. Came with lots of new features. Really exciting to have it's always going to have a brand new release. This one came with, some very exciting new features, I think. As well as the new features, so it has 15 new features in it. I'm not going to go into every single feature today. 4.21 also had about 40 improvements and more than 150 bug fixes, so a pretty major release. As it's not an LTS release, but it is it's packed full of some really great features. There's the list of things that I want to mention today. I've already mentioned a couple of them. So the orchestrate anything feature, I think, is a fantastic, a great, really amazing new feature that my colleague Lucian's going to speak about a little later with his live recorded demo, which I'm looking forward to. I mean, it's unbelievable. Built in now from within CloudStack, you can now control any other cloud orchestration platform or hypervisor with caveats, which Lucian will go into. I'm not going to spoil his slides. Netris, brand new SDN integration. Great guys, Netris, based out in California. They had a couple of customers that were keen to see their, sort of similar to NSX or Tungsten, keen to see their solution integrated with full integration. That's in 4.21. Instance lease, a nice little thing there, which we'll go into a little more detail there. VTPM support, not very exciting, but it's now there. And GPU as a first-class resource, something that certainly from my perspective with ShapeBlue, it's something that our customers have been talking about for a long time, asking for a long time. We've always known there's been like a workaround for it. You could do it at the hypervisor level, I think. So there's always been the ability to kind of hack it a little bit and do it. But we've now got GPU as a first-class resource for both pass-through and vGPUs slicing up. So really great couple of features in there. So I'll go into a little more detail on those features right now. Like I say, I don't want to steal Lucian's thunder here, okay? These are simply the headlines, okay? integrate with any external compute provisioning through a unified framework. Super exciting. It's a framework, which means the work's being done to make it possible now to write extensions or plugins against that framework. So it's there, ready to go for you. And again, we mentioned there the extensible model. Out of the box, integration has been developed with a couple of solutions, I think Hyper-V and Proxmox. So out of the box now in 4.21, you can orchestrate Proxmox instances or Hyper-V instances directly from within the UI of CloudStack. But like I say, Lucian's going to go into a lot more detail about that during his talk later today. Network integration, again, it's another very advanced SDN solution. Got a bunch of guys, and again, it addresses some of those challenges. So there are some issues that certainly we've heard about over the months, years, whatever. Something that we discuss a lot in the community, and we get asked about SDN solutions and networking, specifically advanced networking. You've now got a couple of options in there. NSX obviously for VMware, but you've now got Netris in there as well. And I'm just double checking my notes here. I believe Netris has been developed for use with KVM. Anyone know that? Anyone? I'm pretty sure it's KVM. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's KVM.
Yeah, thank you. So again, people have got the option with VMware NSX. KVM certainly, I'm seeing KVM be one of the most, if not the most popular hypervisor in use with CloudStack. So there is now an SDN solution available for KVM. Again, just a few more slides, so showing you exactly how it comes up, how you now pick this new isolation method from within the UI, what it supports, and it replaces the CloudStack VR. Okay, instance lease, very simple. You can now create instances for a limited time period only, and you can define that to be available for however long you want it to. And at the end, as you can see there, it's auto cleanup. And I think at the end, it gives you, you can specify stop or destroy, end of a lease. Within the UI, there's lots of indicators that show you, that actually point out that you're working with a leased instance. And those might be for test purposes, educational purposes, whatever use cases there are. But certainly something. It's a nice little feature that we've now got in there. Not really much to talk about here. You've now got VTPM support for both KVM and VMware, and you can provision instances with that hardware-backed encryption at that level. Now, the GPU integration with KVM in CloudStack, really exciting one. As I said, something that's been talked about a lot with the community. Lots of users, lots of customers very keen to see this, asking about what solutions there are, when it's coming. Not quite happy with their workarounds that have been in place for a little while now. In 4.21, you've now got full native UI supported integration with DPU as full pass-through, single instance, or partitioned as vGPUs. It is tagged in 4.21. It's tagged as a technical preview. So what that means is it's, and I had to double check with some of my friends in the community. We expect it absolutely to work, but when it was tested at scale, when the development was going ahead, it wasn't possible to test it against every single GPU available, every single piece of hardware out there. So the community has worked with some great community members. Sven's here today. I can't see him, but a couple of the community guys helped us out with their own hardware, so the community could do some testing around the GPU support, which is fantastic. But I suppose the technical preview means, we expect it to work very well, as the community expects it to work very well, but please start using it, please start testing it, and start reporting in via GitHub any issues that you might have with that. Hi.
So is it only NVIDIA, or do you support
anything?
Do they support AMD and
Any card.
Okay.
Any card. But again, as I mentioned, about that technical preview. So for the video, the question was: is it only supported by NVIDIA, or is it agnostic? No, it can support any manufacturer. In fact, it's right there in my slide. But again, obviously, going back to that technical preview, it's been impossible for the community to test against every single possible permutation of card and hardware out there. So that's why we're looking for the community now, the users, to embrace this, to start using it, start testing it at scale, start reporting in issues, so the community can work on version 2.0 of this. Again, just a few headlines there from it. Limits enforcement at the account domain and project levels, can be linked to service offerings. The usage is tracked, so you can obviously, if you're thinking about your billing or your usage, sorry, I'm moving around too much for the camera, I think. So you can track it from regards to usage and billing as well, if that's how you're going to set your billing up. And it's automatically discovered on the supported hosts. Great. That's really, I ran through a bunch of high-level stuff there. I hope what I've illustrated is the vibrancy, the plethora of new stuff coming out. 4.22 is due out in a few months, should be by the end of this year. I've seen what the community is already working on from there. That's going to be an LTS release. I mentioned this. You can ignore this, by the way. That's about 20 days out of date now, because I did that screenshot a little while ago. The CloudStack Collaboration Conference is in Milan in November. It's a fantastic conference. Think this, but far more technical, far more in-depth. Lots of talks from users, from developers, deep dives, Q&A sessions, business talks, project management talks, 2 or 3 tracks, an amazing event. So if you can, please do attend. And as Yvette mentioned there, the request for proposals, talks is still open until this coming weekend. So please feel free. And there you go, just in case you didn't hear me, you can still submit a session there. And we didn't do this on purpose. We didn't fix these dates, but as it transpires, that the early bird offer is only available for another 9-10 days, wherever it is. So you can get in there and save some money. And that's really it. Thank you so much for listening to me today and your patience with me. There's a few links on here. My colleagues at ShapeBlue, we've produced a couple of deep dives for all the features we've mentioned today. So my technical colleagues have produced technical deep dive there. The slides, everything's been recorded today, and the slides are available afterwards, so you don't need to take photos or jot these down now. So everything's available to you. If you want to go into more detail about those features, those releases, please do. A link to the conference and also the mailing list, as I mentioned to you earlier. If you're not involved in the mailing list, but you're interested in CloudStack, please do join the conversation there. It's a great place to just talk all things CloudStack. Thank you very much.